Hello and welcome to the Dash 28 Live main event. Tonight we will be bringing you the top table final round match from It's Always Sunny in Pannithor 2, the Electric Boogaloo. And joining us to play their final match of the tournament are Charlie Davey and Eric Schaefer. Hey guys, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Love the theme appropriate costume, Eric.
Yeah, Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny. Trying to do my best.
Joining me to help commentate on the match, we've got Chris DeGrow and Britton Williams. Hey guys, welcome. Thanks for being here. So for this round, we are going to be playing Control. It is going to be 1995 points, just like the rest of the tournament has been. And this is going to be a Forces of Nature versus Empire of Dust match. So let's take a look at the lists. We're going to pull up Charlie's list first. There we go. And Charlie, if you could walk us through your list, please.
Sure. All right. Starting off with some Salamander Primes because they're the cheapest unlock in Nature. That's pretty much it. They're fine. They just are what they are. A couple of Forest Shambler regiments. Love that style unit. Just the thick chaff. Air Elementals. Not a very popular unit, but with this tournament, we get a Thunder Gun upgrade, and giving them CS1 makes them very viable at 220. So they're a reasonable hitting, fast-moving unit. 2 Fire Elementals, because that's the bulk of, the center. Beast. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've got Pipes of Terror and Maid of Madness on one. So there's slight upgrades to them. Beast of Nature, because of course. Greater Air Elemental is also underused, I think, at 180. Great nerve and fast and nimble surge, hopefully. 2 Pegs, because they're some of the best chaff in the game. Druid, I call this guy the Master of None. He's got Lightning Bolt 2, Surge 4, Heal 2 with the Conjurer's Staff, making it, hopefully get a couple of those spells off. Unicorn with the Boomstick. So just to give me some Lightning Bolt 8, I think that's pretty much my shooting. And Green Lady, who I also think is being underused, because she's not going to do much this game because of all of Eric's regen, but usually she's really good. Yep, that's my list.
All right. Thanks for walking us through that. Now let's pop over and take a look at Eric's Empire Dust. Eric, could you walk us through your list, please?
All right. I tried to jam everything that's incredible in Empire Dust into a 1995 list, and it ended up being pretty elite. 2 regiments of Skeleton Spearmen. Big on Phalanx in this era of Kings of War. 3 Mummy units. They're going to be backed up with the Pharaoh. That gives them all elite. Brew of Sharpness is an excellent upgrade, discounted price. Thundergun unit will be one of the Mummies, which I almost feel like is a downgrade to have Phalanx. I really like to have them with like CS3. But all in all, Mummies, they grind better than anything else in EOD, I feel. Soul Snare, gotta have it. Pharaoh on a chariot with the Blade of Slashing, incredible model. There's the Pharaoh, of course, that gives all the Mummies elite, which also includes the Mummy in the Chariot, which is incredible. And then Aphis, Champion of Death, just a crazy model. And of course, Shobek has to get there. Real simple. It's basically my 2300 list abbreviated and just jammed everything in. And it's been working okay so far. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. So now I am going to bring up your UB room, and we will check out your deployment. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about the terrain, because I think Steve went a little nuts putting terrain down.
I reckon.
This time. So you guys are playing Control, and I see we have the little handy dividers there so we can see the table sections. There's a massive pond with a piece of impassable terrain in the very center, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you guys have decided for your forest, you're just going to play the forest base. You're not going to count the leaves, right?
That's correct.
Yep. Okay. And then for these kind of spindly obstacles, are you guys playing Just the middle bar? Are you playing all the spikes and everything, or what?
We really didn't talk about that. I would assume we're going to play the whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would
that
also
right?
assume that. So yeah,
Okay.
whole
All right,
lot.
cool.
One thing we agreed on: the Sphinx itself, like all the gray area, is going to be impassable for us.
Okay. Yep, the whole base.
Yep.
Awesome. That works.
Picture it as a giant rock or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And when you guys rolled off to pick sides, who won the roll? Who got to pick which side?
I won the
Sure.
roll, and I chose the bottom. Yeah, I'm a very small army, so I just try to deny a flank, and we're gonna swing it out in the middle and see how it goes.
All right, cool. So Charlie is up top. Charlie, could you walk us through your deployment, starting over here on the right, please? Excuse me, on the left.
That's all right. We got a peg there just hiding away. Beast of Nature, obviously going to attack that flank. Same with the Greater Air. Then we have a Unicorn with Lightning Bolt 8. The Druid there has to sit with the Elementals, of course. Then, my Thundergun Elementals. Behind that, another peg. Forest Shamblers in the middle there. Green Lady set up with 2 Fire Elementals side by side. Brutal, and then, the right one having Wild Charge. Prime's bolstering that bit because of the deployment. Obviously, it's pretty stacked side. Needed a little bit of extra unit strength over there. And Forest Shamblers finishing it off over there.
All right, great. And then Eric, could you walk us through your deployment, starting kind of in your middle?
Yeah, kind of in the middle. So the Champion of Death, just anchoring down this flank. I got my Phalanx spears there. Chariot, of course. My Mummy brick with the Pharaoh in behind and the Soul Snare, looking to take a hill, I guess. And then Shobek, and then another regiment of Phalanx.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for walking us through that, guys.
Sure.
Best of luck to both of you. We will see you back here when your game's done.
Okay,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
See you on the other side.
All right, let's bring the clock up.
That critical extra commentator at the clock.
Yep.
Something to say.
All right. So here's the overall sitch for this tournament. Charlie is currently in first place by I think about 9 points over Eric.
Yeah, he's at Eric. Yep.
Yeah, it ahead of Eric, but Chris and Andy, who are on table 2, are only 1 point behind Eric. So if Charlie, I think, wins by at least 16 or 17 points, I think, which is pretty easy to get as a win in a 25-point tournament. If he wins,
Right.
then he pretty much wins. If Eric wins and it's not like a 24 or 25, then somebody on the second table could slip by him and come from behind to win. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this game. Obviously, if Charlie wins by a big enough margin, then it's kind of a foregone conclusion. But if Eric wins and it's like a 20, 21 point win, then it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the second table match later on this weekend.
Right. Normally, being a Dust player, I'd root for Dust, but given that I'm commentating, I really have to cheer for an even draw, because I think that would be the fairest outcome for the two of them. No self-interest involved in that. So
Yeah. Low scoring draw is what's good for the world, right? Not just
Definitely.
yourself.
Well, it's only fair, really.
So Charlie skipped scout.
He did.
He opted to not scout forward.
That makes sense.
And Empire Dust won first turn, it looks like, and is plowing forward.
Yeah, I'm wondering how he's going to hold up on that left flank with all those fast elements coming in from wide. And just Apophis holding things off to see how that plays out.
I mean, the scary thing about this, if they were fighting kill, and this is why scenarios matter and are great. If they're fighting kill, I want this Empire Dust army opposed to the Forces of Nature army, straight up. But this isn't kill. This is control. Right. And having multiple cheap flyers with unit strength that can just, I'm just looking at sort of the amount of Pegasus, Beast of Nature, all that stuff that has the ability to just threaten. And
Right.
if you sort of square off against them, they'll just never fight you. And if you don't square off against them, they can do something. And if you hold them back, they just take a quarter.
Right. Well, I mean, that Pegasus, I'd be surprised if it's not just parked right to the left of that lower forest, just contesting that quarter or claiming it for the whole game. I mean, maybe peek its nose into the woods every now and then just to project a little power, but I don't think it's needed. But he's going to have to do something with that beast and that elemental. Otherwise, he's way outgunned. I mean, he can't have that many points of his army just hiding and claiming board quarters early on.
I mean, it's hiding and claiming board quarters, but occupying Apophis.
True.
Because right now there's like 300 points flying around trying to do something. So.
Yeah, he's 360, I think.
360, yeah. And he's got all the rules, right? I mean, he's dash 19, but there is only one of them, and he's only unit strength 1.
Right.
So he's out there to hunt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to get something. He's got to kill something to be worth it.
Because 1-on-1, he'll eat any of those. 2-on-1, potentially. It's...
Yeah.
And that was Eric's first turn. Yeah, he moved everything up. I think he attempted to surge some mummies, but failed because he didn't roll over a 4, or didn't roll over a 3.
Get that out of the way.
Yeah. And now we're on to the forces of nature. First turn.
Yeah.
From Charlie.
Efficient first turn when you have 10 units. And no shooting in range yet. But I like his little, he's building a little castle here. We'll see what he can do with it. But in a straight up fight, that looks scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, triple elite mummies with a soul snare behind them. No.
And Shobik anchoring one flank and a Pharaoh anchoring the other. Pharaoh chariot.
Yeah, that line's not going anywhere fast.
Yeah. It's not. So like if he just stays on the hill all game, then he's got that table section. There's just 5 others he has to worry about.
Yeah.
Right.
He has to translate that position of power into a position of power other locations.
Right.
So.
And if he's sort of looking at it, aiming for this cross piece, right, to basically be able to like park the mummies kind of right on top of this general area, and then in the last turn, like turn and surge one of them one direction or another to put a couple more unit strength in Charlie's middle to get the 2 points or something like that, then great.
Well, there's an interesting way of splitting up a control battlefield. Or any battlefield. It happens often when you overload one flank, which is you end up fighting across it, the long ways instead of the short ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do think there's something interesting there where he can sort of use that piece of terrain, the impassable terrain in the middle, aim at that point you're talking about, and sort of sit straddling that diagonally, and be in a strong position to potentially take his center, defend his own center if he needs to, claim a back in basically have a position on 4 table quarters, even for a largely kind of not that mobile army.
Right.
To just sort of sit there, worry about those 4, and basically give up on the outside 2 that are on the far side, unless Apophis just eats everyone. So
I'm a little intrigued by this. I mean, lots of shambling units, very little surge for Charlie. I'm curious to see how that's going to work because
only got to surge that 1 inch.
Yep, but he gets 1, so that I'm curious.
Well, that means that, and we assume he knows what he's doing with his army because he's on top table.
True.
My guess is that means he attempts to engage with different parts of his armies in sort of serial, like one after another, so that he can maximize that sort of surge or other kind of additional spells and benefits. So, you get the air elemental or greater air elemental into a point where it can surge and do something nasty. while the rest of your army, your 4 shamblers, your fire elementals, aren't anywhere near the combat. And then in the critical turn where they're going to need it, that druid shifted over and because he's sort of sitting, the druid's sitting in that like pocket in between the 2 areas, the 2 sets of units that are going to want to be surged. So the guess is that he engages with a surge or an attempted surge first from like the air elemental wing while holding back the other side, and then engages with them after he's sort of done what he needs to on that side.
Sure, makes sense.
So I'm a little concerned about what Charlie's doing here. Am I missing something? Like a Paphos is speed 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. He flies.
And flies. So like there's a unicorn like sitting up there that just looks like super tasty bait.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's just bait. There's no way there's little chance of a Paphos blowing through him. Figure 5.5 wounds is average for a Paphos, plus 1 from Cloak of Death. And isn't a unicorn like 12, 14?
12, 14, yeah.
Yeah, so you're looking at needing an 8 twice on average to break it. I don't like those odds, especially when you can get surged in the flank, or actually just hit in the flank by the air
He
elemental.
doesn't even need the surge at that point.
Yeah.
And then what I'm looking at is that even if it works, he's still getting surged probably into a flank by one of those 2.
Right, or
Or
a
a
rear.
rear.
I see.
Because they're flying and nimble. And shambling.
Okay.
So they'll make that charge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Pin him down, and then the like army of critters will crawl all over it and hoof kick him.
And like your boomstick unicorn is a super juicy looking piece of bait.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I was like, why did you just drop him in charge range? But I'm like, oh right, shambling units.
Yeah, it's that whole
Right.
like, what's your flyer defense? Agile, flying shamblers. So they'll do some scary stuff, and I do think that's it's interesting to see how people have used the Thundergun units. Sometimes it's been to make a great unit greater. In this case, it's to make a unit that is little seen, sort of competitive, which is air elementals with CS1 for no additional charge, really, right?
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Those get good. Like, that's, now they're basically werewolves or something else, but with flying and shamble.
Yeah, tortured souls. Yeah. So his lightning bolt did 1 wound to the Skellies, and I'm not sure which spell his druid with the staff tried to cast, but he failed.
I guess lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt. Yeah, it's only 2 dice spell that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that will bring us to the top of turn 2. So let's see what Eric does with his undead here. So Charlie
push forward.
Yeah, Charlie didn't move his like battle line troops up
They
at
moved
all.
back.
Really,
They
they moved
back.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's starting the swirl, right? He's starting the yin yang swirl of the table. He moved up on his fast flank and moved backwards on his slow flank.
Yep. And that's creating that sort of gap in the line that's a no-go area because of its surge.
Right.
It's really hard. He's using the impassable Sphinx. Charlie is to protect his fast wing. At the same time, Eric is doing the same. He's they're both sort of rotating around the Sphinx.
Right. Kind of playing the same game, just on different sides of the table.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how. Go ahead.
Often happens when you have a compact and strong army. They set their stall out, and I mean, you look at sort of a strong versus weak side, but Charlie, by shifting those elementals over towards that side, has really like put a lot more points onto that side of the board than he could have. He could have invested less, so he's opting into this type of fight.
And now, if you're Eric and you see him backing up on that side, and you've moved into one move or surge of 4 table sections, do you keep pushing forward to engage, or do you say like, well, you've given me the ground that I wanted, and I don't need to walk up on you anymore?
I mean, I think you want your soul snare operational.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Eric is a bit behind on unit strength. So, that the nobody dies, let's just scramble for position, he loses that game. So he's got to force some combat and remove some units to be able to win this.
That's definitely the good point there, which is if nothing dies and it's musical chairs,
Right.
Not only is it just unit strength, it's just the type of units. Again, like we said, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, flying unit strength units,
Right.
that can just go where they need to go and overload certain spots or contest. It's a pain in the ass to take care of those. So.
Yep. Yeah, this looks like a less than fun matchup to play with a slower Dust army.
I mean, we'll see how this shakes out. It could go badly, but right now I'm sort of, has nothing in danger of getting over his line on the right. There's not even an attempt.
Nope.
So that pushes up with sort of impunity, gets his Soul Snare Death Star in range, up and operational.
Right.
And just starts, those regiments of forest shamblers, even those hordes, can start getting whittled away pretty quickly from the Soul Snare, and he's kind of just anchoring his side around this. He has, the skeleton spearmen, who are phalanx. Skeleton spearmen are usually kind of paper thin, but when all they're staring at are air elementals and other flyers, they're suddenly a real unit.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think something's going to get forced by next turn-ish. Shobik looks like he's pretty close to charge range. I suppose Charlie could back up one more turn, but yeah, I guess just within reach of those shamblers.
Mm-hmm. Shobik goes 7. Yeah, Shobik's fast.
And then the air elementals, all of that stuff over there, it's got Pathfinder, but Apothis is kind of hovering around, right now at least, he's hovering around obstacles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that bad boy, if he's just using him as a flying anvil, that bad boy is hard to get rid of.
He is. Really at the points though, he's got to kill something at some point.
Yeah, it's 360. He's got drain life, so if he gets in close, he doesn't necessarily have to get in combat. But
right,
I feel like with 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, crushing strength 3, you kind of want to hit something with him.
Yeah, he hits as hard as Shobik does. He's just not quite as resilient.
And he's basically elite with drain life or surge.
Yep, he's nice.
And Cloak of Death.
And he's got Cloak of Death. Yep.
He's also. It sort of depends on where this Pharaoh and Chariot buggers off to, or whether he keeps him back there as a sweeper behind the lines, because he's also that regiment of spearmen's inspiring if the Pharaoh buggers off somewhere else.
Yeah, I like the Pharaoh on defense there on the left for a little longer. I think that fight on the right goes to Eric if it goes out just as it's laid out now. If just the Shamblers, the Fire Elementals, and the Primes face off against all those mummies and Shobik and the Soul Snare, I think Eric wins that fight. If he can tie up that left with just 3 units, I think he's got a pretty good shot.
Yeah. Yeah, the Pharaoh on Chariot, speed 8, 7 attacks, blade of slashing, hit on 3s, crushing 2. He's got nimble, thunderous charge 1. Yeah.
Yep.
That's nasty.
Even charging through obstacles and stuff, he wins both of the elementals on 2s.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's he's one of those great sort of like Goblin King on Chariot. the orc, I think Crudger on chariot, any of the ogre characters on chariot. There's a whole bunch of these sort of like solos on chariot. You don't see that often, but they're great little units. And that weird sort of shape of them actually helps them, get some charges and do some tricky stuff because their pivot point is further back.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like in his shooting phase, Eric did surge the mummies forward.
Yep.
Down off the hill to just touch the forest, so they're visible through the forest. But I don't think there's really anything that needed to be able to see through the forest to see them anyway, so I don't think he gives anything up by doing that.
No, doesn't care.
All right.
He's just trying to create some threats, get stuff moved forward. Might as well surge.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because with the rest of the mummies and Chobik standing back there, like, so long as you don't surge so far forward that you surge into like a double charge that you really didn't want to take or a triple charge that you really didn't want to take, it kind of doesn't matter, right? Like, come punch one regiment of mummies.
I mean, the thing Charlie's sort of betting on is it takes a while for these units to get across the board.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not getting any faster. So
Nope. He's definitely got speed.
he's giving himself the time to work over here. It's just, does he have the tools and the skill to do that work?
Right.
He's being aggressive. He's moving them into spots. Those are still hanging out.
Yeah, the Pegasus are just chilling in the back corner, which is interesting given that a lot of people use them as chaff because they're really fast and maneuverable and inexpensive. But in a scenario like this, where if you just keep them in your back pocket, it kind of eats at your opponent's mind that like, okay, but I have to make sure I have every corner that I have by 2 and not just 1, or one of those stupid Pegasus is going to take that point away from me at the end of the game.
Yeah, but
and I can't get to them. I can't worry about them.
They could be out a little. Like, they could be out sort of starting to project threat. I mean, especially that one that's just behind a rock and
Sure.
can't see anything. They could be out projecting threat.
So how far would you mind clicking on Apophis real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so elementals are the only ones in front range. How far is that druid from the greater elemental?
I just moved him. Let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12. About it's a little over 15, looks like currently.
Okay, so yeah, now he's moved. Is he in reach of Apophis now? Because that druid would be a great target for Apophis if he's 21 inches. Okay.
Yeah, not quite.
Yep. Just thinking he's got to be careful to skirt the edges to be able to surge if he needs it, but not get charged because Apophis will tear right through that, on average. And with no surge, this army plays a lot differently.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, kind of a twisted pattern he's doing. Has he given up any charges? No, maybe.
Still thinking about it.
He's still thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, he moved both the beast and the greater air elemental out of Apophis' out of Pappy's charge arc.
Right.
But yeah, they're all pretty much covering each other's arcs still.
Right.
Yeah, the skeleton spears coming out of terrain aren't going to do anything to any of these units, so he's not going to charge with them. And I feel like the Pharaoh and the chariot, if they get within charge range, he'll just snuggle up to one of these obstacles to give them a hindered front charge.
Right.
And otherwise, I feel like he's basically playing zone defense back there.
Yep. I mean, spears, if they get a flank, they'll ground one of those units. They'll do a wound. Maybe even just hindered regular charge. But I mean, that's about all you can expect from them.
Yeah,
Right.
they're a plug.
Right.
They're not actually scaring anyone. Their job is to stand there and make a no fly zone without at least paying attention to them, and really just like get in the way. And because they can surge, project a little threat around them. Like if you land right next to them, they can just pivot and hit with a surge. So
Yeah. Otherwise, they're just stationary unit strength holding Eric's center until end of game if they survive.
and I mean that matters because they're what, 2 or
3.
3?
They're actually 3.
That's a really solid. I mean
That's good.
that counteracts his horde.
Right.
If his horde tries it, or 3 of his other pieces. So it's they're kind of worth their weight in gold at the moment for what's generally a sort of trash unit. It's nice to see.
Right.
Yeah, I struggle with putting stuff like that in my dust armies or not, because like on one hand they're cheap unit strength and they do have phalanx. They can take a charge, but they just don't do anything in combat except for die eventually.
Right.
So, yeah. Would you mind clicking on the druid again? I'm curious to see what ranges it's at. Should I open this up like real time in another window?
If you wanna be in the room too, so you can click around things you want, but also like I don't mind clicking on things so that people watching can see what we're talking about.
Okay, fair
That's
enough.
also fine. 3, 6. Yeah, he's within 6 of the air elementals.
So inspired. Yeah.
3, 6, 9, 10. It looks like the unicorn is just within charge range of the skeleton spearmen. I don't know that they want to do that. It would be a flank charge.
Well, it's an individual.
Is an individual? Okay, never mind.
But
It is, okay.
it'd be a position play if he did it, because they're not going to get that far that quickly unless they charge. And you can't reliably kill them with either of those 3 units to the front. So you'd have to, with any one of those 3, so you'd have to put multiple units into them to kill them if you want, or you have to ignore them because the Pharaoh and Apophis are much more dangerous. And if you hit those skeletons with multiple units, you've just parked someplace that you can be touched by,
Right.
the Pharaoh and the and Apophis at the same time, and that hurts.
Yep. Interesting. But I mean, he has been playing the unicorn kind of sort of as bait.
Right.
So it's not surprising that he moved it up just into charge range. Like normally you would look at that and think it might be a mistake, but he might just be trying to bait them out so he can, surge his air elemental horde into them and hit them with the beast of nature. And then like throw your greater air elemental into Apophis to ground him or something like that.
But a big part of Kings of War play, especially at this higher level, is sort of saying, I know this is bait, but like I have a way of moving or capitalizing on something that makes it worth it. Right? Like I have the ability, I know this is where I want them. So yeah. You might take the bait is basically what I'm saying.
Sure. And sometimes when you're playing, you look at it and you're like, yeah, I know that's bait, but there's no other play right now, and I brought a unit that's really good at taking bait. Like sometimes you bring that like troop of cavalry or your thick chaff regiment or something like that. Like, well, this is a disposable unit anyway, so I'll see your bait with my bait, and see what happens. Right. That's going to bring us to the top of turn 3.
Still not a lot happening.
Yeah, they're being very conservative, but these are kind of grindy armies. There's a lot of shambling units, so I'm not surprised to see them being slow and cautious.
Yeah. And there's no effective surge up on the right. So the Shamblers and those fire elementals are a lot more limited than they would otherwise be. So, yeah, curious to see who pulls the trigger first up there and when.
Yeah. Avatar the Green Lady has heal but does not have surge. I find it a little odd that the Pharaoh on the chariot doesn't have surge, or doesn't have it. Does
30 points.
Does 30 points? Okay.
Yeah. So kind of pricey.
That is kind of pricey. And I guess if you put him on a chariot to make him fast, you're expecting him to go get into trouble somewhere. So maybe you don't want to spend the points on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've routinely been putting Surge on a Revenant King on Flying Worm, and I'm not sure that I've ever cast it from that platform. He's always got other things to do. Yeah, so it's interesting.
It's the common Empire of Dust problem, which is you can have a lot of options. They're just all expensive or too expensive.
Does there on the right is Shobik? I think Shobik's in range of those Shamblers that are in the woods.
Should be
Easily. Can those fire elementals see in front of the Shamblers? The fire elementals just off to the left.
Oh, and there goes Shobik in on the Shamblers. Talking about these right here.
Yeah, I can't.
Oof.
That's pretty close. I have to discuss that one maybe.
If that's the placement, then they can definitely see.
Yep. Okay.
And that maybe made him think twice.
Yeah, wouldn't want to take those in the flank with Shobik, but without it, then yeah, those Shamblers would die pretty fast.
Chris, when are you playing your last round game with Andy?
Tomorrow at 1 Eastern.
Tomorrow at 1 Eastern. Okay.
Yep.
We have not scheduled a broadcast of that, but if anybody wants to watch that game, just pop on UB.
Sure.
And check them out.
And lurk the old-fashioned way.
That's right.
Yep.
Plenty of time left on the clocks here.
Yeah, they've been playing really fast.
Yep. These are both pretty small, pretty compact armies, and there hasn't been a ton of action. They're being super duper cagey here. You can pretty clearly see what each guy's strategy is, and I don't fault either of them for playing the way they're playing with the armies they have, given the scenario they're playing and their opponent's list and all. Like, it all makes sense to me. I think this is gonna get interesting here in a second, though. He's really eyeing that Shobik charge.
Yeah. Well, if you click on the smaller unit, then the sight lines will actually, it'll actually tell you like when you're centered. If you actually click on Shobik, since he's smaller, you can kind of line up based on that. So I think he gets to go a little bit more to the right to be centered, maybe a smidge, but it's close. That's just not a good charge unless he's out of arc.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, maybe they've agreed that he is. I don't know. But I would not take that charge because he's not going to break that unit. He's going to need an 8 or a 9 once to break them. You can't count on that.
Yeah.
And is his Soul Snare close enough to add to the fight? Because that changes the math.
That's what I was about to ask.
If it pivots and moves, then yeah.
Oh, it's awfully far. But it hasn't moved yet. Yeah.
Yeah, 23 inches is the effective range. So if it moved towards those mummies, it would add 2 wounds. Still, you're needing on average 6 or 7 once. That's iffy, considering that those elementals can kill Shobik on a flank charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's high risk.
It's very high risk.
And the threat of the mummies hitting them back is just not that high. I mean, they're a really solid unit, and they do some damage, but they only have 12 attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
It will, and I'll bring it up again and look. But like typically, the way I play and the way most people I talk to play is, if you nick the line at all, then it's in. So I would assume that's how they're playing as well.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see the contrast there, but I think I see the corner over the line.
Yeah, I mean he's nearly all the way across the line with the corner.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I think I just need some new glasses.
All right.
Yeah, I don't love it. I mean, if it works out, that's great. But I feel like he could wait one more turn, improve his position, get everything in a position to support, and not lose that much.
Right. He can move up into the woods and face that direction. And even if he takes a frontal charge from both of those units, he'll just hold. And then the mummies will eat them with flank surges and stuff. Mm-hmm. This is an unnecessary risk from the look of it, unless they've agreed that that's not visible in the flank.
That would be a very nice thing for Charlie to agree to.
Now that is yeah. Yep. I don't like that charge. It's not a good chance of killing, and it's a very good chance of getting hurt in the flank by multiple units that will kill it. I don't know if the 3 wounds on Apophysis got him spooked.
Maybe.
I was double charge.
Could be. I was thinking of the unicorn as having the same nerve as Pegasus before, like 10-12. Yeah, that didn't seem that risky, but no, it's 12-14, like you guys were pointing out. So that is awfully. Ugh.
Yep.
Awfully risky.
Yeah, so that's maybe 1 wound from the spears. If he does it, then he can pivot and guard a flank and so on with those spears. But yeah, it's very risky for this early in the game.
All right, and there goes Cloak of Death going off, so he's sticking with that.
Yep.
Yeah, so turn 3. Eric has come out swinging with a couple of really risky charges.
Yep.
That might go his way if he rolls well enough on nerve. It's going to come down to nerve rolls, I think. So we'll see. We'll see if he gets them.
Yep.
He's giving himself a chance to do some nasty stuff, but he is opening himself up. And I don't know if he was just feeling the pressure from Charlie, but
Could be.
he opted into some 50-50s.
Yeah, probably would have gone.
Here comes the Soul Snare. 6 hits, or is it only 6 hits?
That's 6 hits and
3 wounds.
3 wounds. That helps.
That helps a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I think I would have taken Apophis, just turn left, move 10, turn forward, and maybe drain that air elemental. Mm-hmm. That would have been, I think, a safer move because he's still threatening and not likely to get ganged up in the flank.
All right, let's see which combat he wants to do first. All right, we're going with Shobik against some Forest Shamblers.
9 hits to start.
9 hits. 8 wounds. That'll put him at 11. There's a 7 rolled.
Okay, so high risk, high reward.
High risk, very high reward, and that is going to be first blood here in the match. And that's going to let Shobik pivot, so he's no longer in the flank of the fire elementals.
Yep.
And they're going to have a hard time.
Now that he's pivoted? Of the elementals. I don't think he's even in their arc. I mean, he can see them, but I don't think they can see him.
Yeah, no, he's not.
Yeah, no, that's really bad for Charlie.
Yeah. Now here's the Skellies in the flank of the unicorn. No, not in the flank. Can't be flanked, right?
No, it's an individual.
It seems like
you roll it at 15.
Okay, there it is.
One wound. So
there you go.
They did what we thought.
Yep. And they fleeched one back.
Good for them. Now we got to see what Pappy does.
If Eric remembers it, they're such a useless unit. It's sometimes hard to remember.
Alright.
Not much.
Should be wounding on 2s, I'm guessing.
Yep.
It's unicorn, so
5 hits,
That's
3 wounds.
is that a waiver?
They should have 4 wounds on them. That should be a reroll.
Oh,
Because they took 3 from the prophet. They should have 5 wounds on them. That should be a reroll. Because they took 1 from Cloak of Death, 1 from the Spears, 3 from Apophis. That's 15. And they're only at 12-14, so he should be re-rolling that. They're not wavered. They're 2 wounds short on that model.
yeah.
And
That's going to be
might matter.
Yeah. But they
I think
have
Apophis
moved
is
on.
going to go by.
Yeah, that's going to be bad for Apophis. Yeah, that's just that's got to just be a miscount.
Yep. Yeah, they should be.
Oh, well, hold on. Unicorn's defense 5.
I think he moved out
Apophis.
3 extra wounds, but did it as a replacement instead of adding it by mistake.
Sure. Yeah, but Apophis is crushing 3, so it should be winning on 2s regardless.
Mhm.
And it did roll 3 1s, but still 3 not 1. So yeah,
Right.
and it had 1 to start with, and the Skellies put 1 on. So yeah, he should have 5 wounds, and that 10 should have killed it and triggered a reroll.
Yep.
Yep. Whoops. So we'll take that down as a question asked.
Skeletons, three damage. Should be at 5. So
Should be at 5. 10 should have killed.
Yeah, Apophis is going to need snakes to survive at this point.
Yeah.
because there'll be a surge into the rear with that.
Yeah, greater elemental. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's
And
too bad.
that'll-
It's too bad it's coming off of a
Oh.
miss. Oh no,
That
he's
equals
blocking
surge.
his own rear.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's too bad it's not coming off of just the dice and it's coming off a misplay.
Right.
Mhm.
We don't know. I mean, he might have rolled a 3 for his next roll, and it would have been this result anyways. But
Right. He would have needed a 9, so I don't know. Not a terrible
Sure.
chance of breaking it, but not great.
yeah, I just don't like that charge.
No.
If he was scared of getting lightning bolted, he has drain life.
He could have just sent in the skeleton spearman and had a reasonable chance of that 1 wound.
Mhm.
So, yep. And they could have gone and drained the greater elemental or something for some.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Greater
beast
elemental
or the beast or the greater.
Yep. I
I
don't
know
know if
it's
he could.
easier to drain the greater, but it's worth a little more on the beast. So,
Right. I'm not sure if he could have reached the beast to drain it
okay.
from his initial spot. Maybe.
He might
Yeah,
have to give
two-
himself a
two.
sketchier surge, but it's still worth.
So it's two high risk charges in turn 3. 1 paid off, 1 did not.
Right.
On a slight
Yeah.
dice issue, but we're guessing given the roll that he needed of a 9 that on the re-roll he wouldn't have gotten that unicorn anyway.
Yeah, but I feel there's high risk and then there's like bad risk.
Right.
Yeah,
And the one
reckless, right?
on our left, his left felt like bad risk.
Yep.
Mhm.
I could see what was happening with the Shobik charge. If it went bad, he still had a lot of meat coming that direction that could sort of bail it out, even if he's losing Shobik there. And it was sort of on a knife's edge, that one. Like if he did what he should do, it was like a 6 or a 7 once. Over here, like a 9 twice, or whatever.
Yeah.
I know he underperformed with Apophis, but it just felt a lot riskier.
He was probably on a 7 twice. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's just, dear Lord.
That's a lot of attacks.
That is. So he's not going to bother with any surges. He's just going to take a double flank charge.
Yep. Just a double flank charge.
Just.
Yeah.
Might get him, might not. We'll see. Pappy is dash 19 at defense 5.
Yeah, there's no Bane chance or anything. So
Right.
No,
You're looking
and,
at 28, 56 attacks. Isn't it 10
Thunder
attacks
one.
on the greater elemental?
10 attacks on the Great Air Thunderous 1.
Hitting
Yeah,
on
threes.
3s,
Mhm.
and wounding on 4s. So we're looking at about 18 wounds average.
Yep.
That's pretty rough.
And he's dash 19 and already has 2 wounds on him.
Yeah. So it's possible to come in low. I mean, he may survive, but it's not a high probability for him to last out and get to hit back.
Yep.
So
Now over here, he would need a surge to be able to get into Shobik, but he doesn't have anything in range that can surge.
Right.
So Shobik is in a safe spot. And he might, I don't know, do you step on the gas here and go try to punch some mummies to counter strike there? Or do you just stand back and say, it's okay, I'm about to roll up your other flank. It's okay that you made an aggressive move on the right side. I'll just pull back, reform my battle line, and bide my time because help's going to come back from the other side here in a second as soon as they finish mopping up your left.
yeah, Eric's definitely on a clock on the right now that he's losing that left flank. So I think the smart play is probably to pull back, take a hit or two. Are those mummies in the woods even in reach if the elementals step back? No, they only have to go back, not even full movement. The one possible issue of stepping backwards, though, is if he can get that Pharaoh close enough to surge Shobik, Shobik can get a flank charge, and that's a bad day for the fire elementals. About 50-50 to kill them. It looks like the Pharaoh is probably close enough to walk up and surge Shobik. Yeah, if he can get into the woods.
Yeah. It's definitely within his max range. He's just got to be able to walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have the mummies move up a little bit for him. It's easy.
Yep.
If he gets really snug on the corner of the mummies in the forest.
Okay.
but delaying is definitely the order of the day for that side.
Yeah.
You have no advantage in fighting right now.
Nope.
Delay. Things are looking good for you on the other side.
Right.
And
Don't
because they're
force the
flyers
conflict.
and they're flyers and air elementals, they actually have a chance to influence. You know, if those were a bunch of foot regiments or foot hordes, there's nothing they're doing. But these actually have a chance to get there for turn 5, turn 6, turn 7.
And now he has moved one of the Pegasus up to touch the forest just to be able to see through from its hiding place. Yeah, I suspect that Eric is going to regret sending Happy in on the left.
Yep.
He should already regret it. He should have regretted it. He should have regretted it when he did it, and then pressed undo.
Yeah. Had one of those Arrested Development, I've made a terrible mistake kind of moments.
Well,
Yeah, I always think of it like the Final Destination. Like you've you've seen the plane crash, you've seen the charge fail, and then you go back and don't do it. Don't get on that plane.
When he charged in with those spears, he initially rolled 30 attacks. Maybe he was thinking, okay, unicorn, unit strength 1, because people run it that way so often.
Mm-hmm.
He might have been thinking he was going to get an extra wound in, but that still was iffy.
Yeah, and I mean, like, why send Apophis? Why not just
Right.
the skeletons?
Yep.
Right.
They'd be
Because
where
if-
they are now. They would have done a damage, and he
If-
would have been having to figure something out with them.
If my
It's committing
objective
the
there is
300
literally
and-
like just to turn off lightning bolt, then yeah, the skeletons can do the job.
and
Right.
do like a tricky redeploy that puts him where he maybe doesn't want him. But like your 360 point, good God, in 1995, that is so much of your army that you're just giving him a free whack at.
Yep.
You're just giving those points away for basically nothing. I think he's figuring out that if he backs up, he's getting flank searched.
Mm-hmm.
So he's now trying to make the unsearchable battle line.
Mm-hmm.
Smart.
Which, given the amount of shambling units he has on his list, he ought to be familiar with the tricks. Right. And ought to be.
And this is one of those things that Shobik does so well as a kind of big chunky piece of beat stick that sits out in front of your line and kind of dares people to fight him. Because he'll bounce almost anything in that opposing army in a straight up fight.
Yep. All right. Looks like we pulled in a proxy unit to test some charges or test some placements.
How
Still
do I not
plenty of time
get,
on clocks.
How do I not get multi-charged?
Right. Still plenty of time on the clocks. More than 40 minutes each.
Yeah, they're
at
gonna
the
go
bottom of
fast.
turn 3.
I wonder if he's testing to see if those primes can be flank surged.
Hmm.
And while the unit would fit, the answer is probably no. He doesn't have enough surge, and that's not. The unit shape is wrong.
Mhm.
Even though it's poking out just a little bit. Now, there, fire elementals can get flanked by those mummies.
Yeah. If he leaves them like that and doesn't move up and protect them.
Right.
So we'll see how he sort of moves into that final position. But this is it's what's sort of scary about regiments of mummies is they can sneak into some of those gaps, and you're not worried about, making a big swing with them, getting them on a flank. 24 attacks is suddenly really, really relevant when 12 isn't. So.
Right. And just realizing that when he was protruding out a little past those fire elementals, Shobik had just a straight up flank charge on them.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
interesting.
tricky.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. So he's just gonna stay there and shoot.
I mean, I feel like you take that surge flank with the far right mummies if you can.
Oh yeah. How far away are they from the corner? So 7 inches, got to go, or 8
Gotta go
inches.
to 8.
Probably got to go 8 to 9 to be able to actually touch that flank. That's okay. That's a little on the iffy side. With
Well, you're
only
just
spear
moving
shape.
up, right? You're just moving up and then you're pivoting them so your right corner barely misses their front right corner, right?
So you might be able to do it in 8. That's surging 3 inches on surge 8. It's not.
So that's 12 wounds. 12 wounds on Apophis.
That's just from the horde.
That's just from the horde, yeah. And 4 more.
Yeah.
So that's 18. So that snakes twice, and that'll pick him up.
Yeah, and there's
It's 360 points gone. Ooh.
one of the most expensive things you can have in the game.
Right.
Gone off the board for it did 2 wounds to a unicorn? 3?
Yeah. It looks like some of those got healed back.
Yeah. Because his
the
druid had
it
nothing
was
else to
5,
do.
but
Yeah, nothing else to do with cast heal. So,
Yep. Yeah.
Absolute waste.
and that brings us to top of 4, I think. Or is there still a combat going on someplace? Oh, he's still reforming. Got it. Trying to back everything up to keep away from the Pharaoh, I would guess. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16. Yeah, I mean, that puts everything but that unicorn bait out of the Pharaoh's charge range, looks like.
Mhm.
Yep.
Now he can literally just, well, it depends on what the unicorn does, but if it's not counter charge, then he can literally just charge through it and hit one of those units on his next turn. But spears are a distraction.
Yeah.
Unless he hits the druid. We'll see where that winds up. So is that steep enough of an angle? I think those mummies might still be frontish.
I think he's gonna work on it.
Yeah. We're gonna workshop this.
Yeah. He's got 48 minutes left, so
yeah,
plenty of time.
44 minutes of nudging flank charges.
That's right. Trying to see if you can get the surge down to 1 inch.
I mean, I think there's a way in which you go straight along the line you're already on and then pivot near the end of your charge, or near the end of your move, not all the way at the end, to just miss that front flank and go from there. Somewhere in there, there's a sweet spot of just the right amount, but
right. Just the right amount. That still leaves your leader point.
I think you can get it to. I think it's going to be a 3-inch, but we'll see. It might get close, but I think it's going to be over 2, which is what.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be over 2. If he's lucky, he'll get it down to 3.
He does have Surge 8 over there. I guess if Shobik doesn't, no, Shobik doesn't have Surge. Right, just heal.
Yep.
Right.
But I mean, Shobik charges someone.
Them in the front.
Yeah,
yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't think he has any cute little angles to that other unit of fire elementals or anything like that.
Yeah, but I think you want them to guarantee the dunk on those.
Yeah, and mummies in the flank and Shobik in the front is pretty close to a guarantee.
And I think those are the sharpness mummies. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Although he probably won't be clear of the woods before he gets surged. So it's a little less.
Okay, right. That'll put him back on 4s. 24 attacks on 4s in the flank. Yeah.
So 12, so 8 wounds plus 5 from Shobik. That's pretty solid.
Soul Snare.
13.
Plus
Soul Snare, maybe. Fire Elementals are dash 17.
Yep.
So
yeah,
keep the Soul Snare in. That's basically super brutal.
Yep.
Just add 2 to 3 damage to every combat.
Yep. Yeah, I think that'll do it.
And that'll be a 3-inch surge into the flank. Yep. And there goes Shobik into the front, but his final position won't affect the mummies on the surge, so that should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
He will have to get the Soul Snare. Can it see them around the forest right now?
It's going to have to break left. It can see over the mummies, but it's going to have to break left to see past the forest.
Yeah. I guess he went back in on the unicorn with the dudes on the skeleton spearmen on the left, or has he not gotten back to those yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's moved anything on the left yet. But that's a chunk of pain coming through on the left of those mummies.
I mean, do you think he just didn't see it? Or do you think he's hoping he fails that 3-inch surge? Like,
yeah, I don't know what the odds are, but it's not super high. It's not like a 90%, pass on the 3-inch surge. But Charlie's been doing really well. I would be surprised if he just missed it. But I guess it can happen. So yeah, okay. I'm looking at this and thinking, yes, it's not Charlie's turn. It's Eric's. Honestly, if I were him, I wouldn't charge the unicorn. I would charge something else. I would charge through the unicorn to the air elementals, or through the unicorn to the druid, or because the unicorn is defense 5.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to kill it. He's just going to end up getting hit anyway, and he dies when he gets piled on over there.
Right. The best they could do by hitting the unicorn is turning off Lightning Bolt 8 for another turn.
Right.
But
I think
But
it's
yeah,
trying
if
to
he-
protect the pharaoh.
could be. I mean, yeah, but that's a good point. The unicorn is not mighty, so they could charge through and hit the air elementals. And if they do a wound, then they've grounded his thunder gun unit. And if he could easily heal the thunder gun unit, I suppose. But you do get a bonus point if your thunder gun unit finishes the game with no wounds on it. So every wound you put on it basically gives the druid something he feels like he needs to do by the end of the game.
Yep.
To get a bonus point.
No, that's not a terrible move. He can still get flown in and flanked by the air elementals, but just making them come to him is another option there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like a fairly easy flank with that one. The Horde probably get one with Nimble.
Yeah, and these are spears, so they do have phalanx, so he doesn't really want to go into the front with his flying units.
Yep.
But he won't, right?
No, he won't. He won't. It's way too easy to get the greater elemental in the flank in their current position. And he could probably get the horde in just going the other way.
Yeah, or just angle down, move, and then angle up to get in.
Yep. Nimble flying. All right, so what's he going to do with the Pharaoh and the chariot? Is he going to push up and just kind of camp on the fence? Do you back off and try to get out of charge range?
Yeah. I think the more he can buy time with it, the better off he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he doesn't want the beast
spot.
jumping over it and then going and punching the soul snare.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're at least trying to keep some of this contained. It's bad because he is getting 1, 2, the top left table quarter and the bottom left table quarter for free. And he's getting them with Pegasus.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he has an air elemental horde, a greater air elemental, and a beast of nature who no longer have to care about table quarters holding and can flood into that middle back and influence the fight in the rest of it. So it's a really bad spot. That thing just needs to hang around and find something useful to delay and fight.
And that's going to be a 6-inch surge, so
There you go.
That'll hit the flank.
That's a big
But
deal.
The
Yeah,
bad
that'll
news
be-
on that flank for him is that he's losing one thing a turn while nothing else is really fighting. So it's like he's going to lose his skeletons now after losing Apophis and getting nothing in return. He's not going to lose his skeletons for nothing in return. And then it's probably going to set up to lose his Pharaoh for nothing in return. And
Right.
that's whatever 600 and some odd points
Yep.
that will have one at a time just been traded away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the good news for Eric is on the other side, Charlie is running into the same thing where he's just Pac-Manning up his line with Shobik plus others 1 unit at a time and losing nothing. So
Is his soul snare position where it can see those engaged fire elementals, or did he just get a little bolt? No, but they're not in arc, so he's counting on that combat. It's
would've
not a
sold.
sure thing.
I would have soul snared. No, he's saying he did it.
Yeah.
It must be
Fair.
facing that way.
Yeah, I mean, the arrow's pointing the wrong way, but he could have easily pointed it at them. I don't know. Does the soul snare get a free reform at the start of shooting phase?
Ooh, that was not a good combat for him.
17, yeah.
And they are fine.
They're fine.
So those
Dash.
mummies are going away.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, 17 hits on 24 attacks on 4s.
Great.
is great, but then that damage roll was not
Only
good. Only
7
5
points.
4-0s.
Yeah. Rough. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
And this is where the painfulness of Charlie's list comes back in. Because
Yeah.
he's got heal 6 on the avatar of the Green Lady. That's going to start bumping those fire elementals back to life, along with he could do Radiance of Life. So they can start getting stuff back. They're not going to be at 10 damage when he next hurts them.
Right. and now there will be nothing but Shobek fighting them in the front instead of Shobek and underperforming mummies in the flank.
Right. That could be 2 turns for Shobek to kill that unit.
Yeah.
And they're fairly tough. They'll do 5-ish wounds to him a turn.
Oh my gosh. And he doesn't have a good target to hold his back right table quarter. He's got this mummy spear, but they've already moved out of it, so they'll have to dip back in.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're currently camped next to some blocking terrain, so they're not going to be able to move through it. It's going to take them a little maneuvering to get where they need to be to hold that corner again.
Okay, so looks like Cloak of Death.
Yeah, he didn't go Radiance. He's like, nope, I want to put the boot in.
Okay.
Yep. I got enough heal. I don't care. So these 4 Shamblers basically are just going to try to prevent a... Oh, no, they're going for a rear charge. Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I
I figured they would just get in the way of some mummies. But that's going to be... I mean, they're not Striders, so that'd be a hindered rear charge. I was expecting a double flank, and then the 4 Shamblers get in the way of the rest of the mummies, so they wouldn't get to flank surge into anything else.
Yeah. That's... Those fire elementals are going to have to be in that fight to really make sure that those mummies are dead.
Yeah.
That should do it. I mean,
That should do it.
It would take bad luck for Charlie to not win that fight. So, where is the Green Lady? I don't see her on the map.
I believe she's... Oh, right there.
Oh, wow.
So instead of camping behind the fire elementals to heal them, he opted to fly her over behind Shobek and into the woods.
He can still turn and heal.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
she can.
Yep, get those 4 Shamblers in and plug the gap.
Yeah, and it's definitely not worth turning Shobek around and surging him into the Green Lady.
No, it's not.
Given all of Charlie's unit strength is now sitting in front of Happy, and he's got to do something about it. Okay, so he has used the 4 Shamblers to chaff up the mummies. It's the Thundergun mummies.
Yep.
We don't expect them to do a ton of damage, but
Unicorn's threatening the soul snare now.
Yeah,
Yep.
This is why.
That seems like one too many pivots, but yeah.
I mean, that's why I was sort of wanting something to hit it. Because now it's just
spears?
free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Like, I don't know what the spears gain by not punching it and backing up. The air elementals are still going to have their way with them.
Yep.
It's not. I don't know. Maybe they won't, but it feels to me like they're still going to get a nasty flank surge from the horde if he wants it.
That's true.
And
there's
other
nothing
one
left
coming.
on the right side of the table to go after that unicorn. Like, it's just sort of going to shoot whatever it wants, or possibly take an opportunistic flank or rear charge, because it does have 3 attacks. So
it's in your backfield shooting your base up for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And like that's going to matter in turn 6, turn 7, when sticking 8 lightning bolt on something can be the difference between dead skeleton spearmen, dead mummies, dead whatever.
Right. So the story of this game to this point is a couple of risky charges by Eric, one that paid off, one that didn't, but was probably a little riskier than we would have liked. And then just bad luck with dice in one combat on the right has put him in a particularly difficult position there.
Yeah, I liked the Shobik mummy double charge, especially with the soul snare help.
Yeah, that just
Feel
went
like
back.
that was right. It just rolled low.
Yeah, really though. And I think still only missed by 1, I think.
Yeah, by 1.
Yeah. That's one of those heartbreakers. So yeah, when you get to the end of the game and look back, like, why did that game go the way it went? Because I missed a nerve roll by 1. Because one of my units did like 3 or 4 less wounds than they probably should have in a flank.
But that for me isn't it. He's been outplayed on his left side.
Also,
or
also
just
true.
like,
Also true.
I mean, I don't even know if it was outplayed. He just sort of, like, he didn't take the bait and then really took the bait.
Right.
It was like he just kept it dangling there, and it's like a fish going like, I think there's a hook in there. I better take a big bite just in case.
Yep.
It's rough.
Yeah, that's that was probably the deciding move, and not doing the wounds right. I mean, he was about 40% to kill it on the reroll, which would have changed the game if Apophis had been able to turn and not get ganged out on quite so much, or potentially change the game. But that was the deciding factor of that fight right there.
Yeah.
So.
But that's what happens when you try to alpha strike and bounce off.
Yep.
You pick those targets very carefully.
Dust is not really an alpha strike army.
No.
I mean,
And that's the thing. So many of his units will survive a charge to the front.
Yep.
And Charlie, when you look at his list, is relying on the ability to get flanks.
Mm-hmm.
And giving him them. Like just
Right.
straight up giving them to him. Not making him work for those is so rough.
Yep. Yeah, I
Like
agree.
he didn't have to come out.
Yeah,
He could have made a battle line from the butt of that Sphinx down with those same 3 units and basically sat there, and it would have been a lot harder to crack than what he ended up doing, where he sort of edged his way out and fought one at a time. I know we're sort of piling on. It's not fair when you're facing 4 or 5 flying units. It does your head in. It just felt like a bad play, a low percentage play, and gives up a flank when it goes wrong.
Right, because he could not possibly afford to ignore a live Apophis on that flank. I mean, he could have tied that side up for the entire game, just kind of playing hide and seek with Apophis, but pinning
Or
him
doing sort of what Charlie, just keep backing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
That works.
just keep rotating around the back of that Sphinx, basically, and sliding backwards. And I don't know.
Yep. That would do it.
It just feels like at the end of the day, he has almost equal points that Charlie does over there. And it's getting nothing for that. So.
All right, so he's elected to put the Greater into the flank on the Surge instead of the Horde. And he's sending the Horde into the front instead against the unit with Phalanx.
Now, if for some reason he misses the Surge, or for some, that elemental stays in that orientation, it may die to the Pharaoh in the rear, but that's a pretty big if. I mean, Charlie would have to nail the Surge or roll snakes on the combat.
He's got the staff. I mean, snakes on the combat puts him in a bad spot,
Yep.
as snakes normally does. But yeah, I don't love. I mean, he should blow up that unit, but I like the idea of the horde getting in the side more.
Yep.
This
Only
does put
one,
the horde.
so that is not going to make it.
Wow.
Womp womp.
Okay, so that changes the dynamic in the game.
That does change it. 3, 6, 9, 12.
Is that a rear
So-
charge or a flank?
That is going to be a flank,
Oh, okay. He can't-
and there
Does
is
he-
enough room to fit. No, there's not enough room to fit. He's
can
too
he
wide.
can he reach those elementals, that horde? Yeah, they're in reach, and he's in their flank, I think.
No, he's in there
Yep.
front.
In front.
Wow. He can still do a dual charge there, but I'm not sure that is a great idea. Assuming the spears stick around.
So that was a big old 5-point heal from the Green Lady on these fire elementals.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so
All
here's
bad
combat.
news.
That's only going to be 6 hits, right? With or do they hit on 3s? I
They
guess
hit
they
on 4s.
That's a phalanx shooting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, they should only hit on 4s against phalanx.
Okay,
So, yeah, they did that right.
they did that right. Okay.
Yep. And it's
These are the adept. Jeez. Just blew him up.
Yeah. Well, when you roll 9s and up for nerve,
Yep,
Easy game.
things work out for you.
it does. So I'm curious to see what happens with the mummies up top right. I mean, they're probably dead, but if they don't die, that'll be a tough spot for Charlie. Having all of his units right there.
Yeah. And it looks like he did just back the elementals up to be out of the Pharaohs.
They're not out. But it's
16,
a
isn't it?
Are they just in?
No, I think they're just out.
Okay, yeah, my
Yeah, I think they're just out.
eyes are a little off.
All right, so that's 5 wounds from the Far Shamblers on the Mummies Thunder Gun, which isn't going to do a whole lot. Looks like now
That's
we're
a lot
doing
of wounds.
Yeah,
that's true. They were hindered. That is pretty good for them, actually.
that was 6 5s on to hit. So
Now here's Fire Elementals on Shobik. 8 rolled. He's fine.
should have only taken 3 from that.
Yeah, I'm not following the damage fast enough, but it looked a little off.
Yep. Easily picks up the Mummies with the double flank charge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sort of thing with Charlie's list is everything's a hammer when you're hitting in the flank.
Right.
Right.
None of these are really. There's not really a true hammer unit in the list. Something that does, consistent 8 damage to defense 5 infantry in a front charge. But all of it is doing work from a flank.
Right.
The fire elementals are close. I think they're 7 against defense 5 in a front charge because they've got vicious. But yeah, that's the hardest hitting unit.
And that's short. That's short of the sort of classic Kings of War hammer definition.
Right.
I mean, they're a great unit and they hit hard, but there's nothing in this list that's cracking things to the front. So.
Yeah, you typically want to see 18, at least 18 attacks hitting on 3s with crushing 2 or Thunderous 1 crushing 1.
Yeah,
So,
that's the that's the sort of classic Hammer definition. It's a little arbitrary because, doing 7 or 7.5 versus 8 is not really like a huge difference. But it's an interesting list at 1995 because all of it hurts from a flank. None of it is really going to just straight up fight you to the front.
True.
The fire elementals can, depending on what they're up against.
Right.
But he's managed to either set himself up in situations that Eric walked into and gave up the flanks, or manufactured them through having nimble flyers and surge. But he's piecemeal gonna just keep trapping and taking apart these units. And like those mummies have 5 damage on them. I know that's gonna go away with life leech, soul snare, etc. So
He sidestepped 3.5. He's going to try for 3-inch surge to the flank. It's not enough to kill that unit. Are those air elementals? How far are those threatening? Pretty far.
far.
They
It's bad.
could get
It's
into
bad.
the flank of the mummies if there was enough space, but I don't think there is. The forest shamblers would have to slide over.
Rules
This
question.
question.
Can you sidestep Shobik and end less than an inch from them because he started within an inch? And
Yes, you can.
Can you?
Mm-hmm. Has to end equal or farther now with the errata. I think they might be waiting on you, Mike, for the rules question.
They might.
Oh. Yep, that is correct. He just has to be farther away, equal to or farther away than when he started. That's not correct per the new errata. I mean, I can look it up if you need me to.
Yeah, sure. Take a look.
Let me make sure I've got it on this computer or this tablet. But that was one of the big changes in the most recent errata is you can have.
Yeah, I always get confused over which way that goes these days.
Yep. Shoot. Yeah, documents. I don't have it here.
But you're pretty sure current fact says.
Yeah, you have to start. You have to be equal to or farther away. I use this a lot, so I'm confident in the answer.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking it up now, but
Okay, I'm going to start writing that. I'm going to start typing that back to them. You let me know if you read something different.
Chris is
written.
very confident, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that kind of goes into that whole like, does the disengage have to be a full inch or not kind of thing.
He didn't disengage; he just moved.
Right, he just moved sideways, right?
But yeah, I mean, technically, I think you can still disengage less than an inch and be within an inch and move within an inch. Even though a lot of the answers I got asking about that early on were saying that they intended to not allow it as written, you still can.
So can a withdrawal move be used to bring a unit within 1 inch of an enemy unit they are not engaged with? The answer is no, but let me finish. No, a withdrawal move may not be used to bring a unit within 1 inch of an enemy unit. The only exception to this is if a unit begins its turn within 1 inch of one or more enemy units. In that case, it may still make a withdrawal move so long as the withdrawal movement ends equal to or further away than where it started from all units within 1 inch.
Okay, so it looks like they decided on their own to do the 1 inch withdraw and then sidestep.
Okay.
So that makes it a lot harder for Eric in this case. But yeah.
I mean, I might have just fought the fire elementals again and soul trained them.
And that's a pretty good chance of
One,
killing it.
2, 3.
and
Yeah.
just rolled that one back, same as last time.
Right, because you need a 4-inch surge to get into the flank of the other fire elementals.
That's not a good odds. That's
No, it's 50-50. Which
he needs to reliably remove a unit. And once he's in, he's about 50-50 to kill it if he makes the surge charge.
Are his odds any better on the flank of them than 5 damage already on one fire elemental? It's just
About the
like
same.
you're gonna do basically 5 damage with your attack, and then
Right.
5 more with your flank. So it's, I don't know. It feels like you're just trading,
His best
unless
bet,
you have something else to hit that unit, which I don't know he does. So
his best bet was to go back into those elementals and hit him with the soul snare. And how far is the Pharaoh from him? Is that in charge reach?
3, 6, 9, 10, 11.
I can't tell. if
Fire elemental go what, 6? Yeah, they go 6.
No, I'm talking about the Pharaoh charging in. He's got 5 attacks.
Oh.
Is he within 10 inches?
Super close. I think not.
No,
I think
okay.
he's just out.
He can hit the other fire elementals, but do a wound, or he can pop in and hit those forest shamblers. Looks like he's too far from the Green Lady. But I mean, he's almost impossible to kill. I mean, he's almost as hard as Shobik. Plus, he's got regen. He just doesn't have a whole lot of attacks to show for it.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah, I mostly play the wet undead as opposed to the dry undead, so it doesn't occur to me that like your surge caster should ever intentionally get into combat.
Right.
yeah, that's the surprise. He fights.
Wait, they do what?
Hits on 3 is push 2. Well,
I mean, it's the old. See, the problem is that like I played Tomb Kings way back in the day. So if you just think of that as the Tomb King,
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, it's a GW character. It fights. It's fine. That's kind of where the profile came from. So.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of risk for no real reward for Eric. I don't particularly like that play.
Yeah. Could be that it could be that at this point he's decided that he's at a disadvantage and it's turn 5 and he's not going to be where he wants to be, so he might as well get fancy. Just to do fancy
like
shit.
Yeah, it feels like fancy for the sake of fancy. Like your Pharaoh can actually do something more useful than Surge this turn.
Unless killing that unit puts Shobik in a better position on turn 6 for holding the center.
Possibly.
His
Possibly.
be a scenario play here.
And if he makes it, thinking about this, those fire elementals aren't inspired. The ones on the left, they're out of reach. So if he pulls it off, he's more likely to kill them than the inspired elementals that are already wounded. But it's a big if. I mean, I'm pretty desperate if I'm counting on a 4-inch surge on 8 dice, even if I've got a reroll or 2.
6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20. Okay, so you probably end someplace where the air elementals can't come get you yet. But like the primes will be there. Primes won't do a ton to Shobik. But it's enough unit strength to easily shift back to his middle to counteract it.
Which way is that air elemental facing? The greater air elemental?
He's facing up the table because he failed his surge.
And what about the horde? Can they see
facing
Pharaoh?
East.
It looks like he might be just out of their reach. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of where the unit strength is and who's got which table section.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, right now Charlie's got Eric's center because Eric only has the Pharaoh and Chariot there, and he's got a Beast and a Greater Air Elemental.
Mhm.
He's got both of the left side.
Yep. Left side sealed up.
Yep.
That horde in the middle,
Mhm.
the horde of air elementals is positioned to go either direction, wherever he needs them. Probably to go fight at this point, because there's a turn
Yeah.
5. Why not? Turn 5 and 6. But that should solidify his middle. Should, quotation marks, along with the primes. And then he has a really good chance of still holding the top right with those fire elementals. And potentially, yeah, I mean, there's a very real potential that he doesn't have Eric doesn't own a single table quarter at the end of this
Yeah.
right now.
Yep.
His gamble with Showbook's going to have to pay off and remove that unit.
Mhm.
And
I'm even looking at them
Shambles.
removed. Like,
I think he's got enough unit strength to claim 3. Possibly. But he's got to
That's
kill
still-
elementals.
Yeah. Currently, no one has the bottom corner.
yeah,
Um,
and no one,
No one's gonna.
might get it.
I think the spears you have highlighted are going to go for that bottom corner.
They could. Or if,
Move
I
forward,
guess,
tip it down.
And then they're giving up top right to fire elementals.
True.
yeah, he could leave them there and just slide the Pharaoh over. Maybe if he's like, well, there's nothing else for the Pharaoh to do and nothing for it to salvage other than just slide over instead of contesting the center, which he can't get.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, he really needs to. I mean, Eric's going to have to clean up all those units on the top right to have a chance of winning this game, and that seems like a stretch.
mhm. He did roll his regen on his Thundergun mummies, and they got 2 back, so they're down to 3. That is his Thundergun unit, so he will be trying to end the game with them at full strength. Let me see. In terms of other bonus points, the Air Elemental Horde, which is Charlie's Thundergun, participated in a combat where something died, so he's already got that bonus point. And there's your 4-inch surge.
So that was lucky for Eric.
Yep, that puts Shobik in the flank of the unwounded fire elementals. And I guess now that he knows that, he knows who to soul snare, but it looks like he's going to soul snare the one that's already got 5 wounds.
And he does 4 more. That's a lot of wounds.
It's a lot of wounds, but I'm guessing Shobik would have liked to have that backup on the one that
Yep.
he's currently fighting.
You got to remove units.
Yep. I think he's playing to try and remove both. It's a stretch. He's going to need to roll 8 twice to kill that one with the snare, but if he does it, that's a big deal. Oh, he didn't. Okay.
Yeah, he did heal Shobik, of course, bringing him down to 1 wound. Yeah, and a 6 isn't going to pick them up. So that's going to bring us to combat. Here's the mummies on the Forest Shamblers on a counter charge.
8 hits.
This is
That's
not
8
not
wounds.
at all a guarantee.
6 wounds.
Well, they dash 15, something like that.
Dash 14.
Dash 14, a 4 rolled is not going to get him.
Shobik is angry,
Shobik in the flank, yep.
but
17 hits,
13 wounds.
10 wounds, and an 8 rolled. And they are not inspired, so that will pick them up.
Yeah, I think it was
But it
13 wounds.
Was it?
He's crushed 3.
Oh, he's crushed 3. So, yeah, 13 wounds and an 8. And the green lady is just too far away, so
Okay.
all right. So that helps.
Yep.
And Shobik is too far for any of the flying things over here to get to him this turn. So
Shobik is going to win this game single-handedly.
right
He does that
on
sometimes.
turn 7, he's going to kill the last scoring unit. And
He's just walking around clubbing things to death while
So-
the entire rest of the army crumbles.
He might. Charlie's
Shobik and Soul Snare only.
Charlie's got an interesting choice now. Does he take those elementals into the fight and maybe lose them? Or does he just use them to go and take a table quarter?
I think they
they're
are.
just out. They
Yeah,
look
I
like
think they're
just
at
out
20. 3, 6, 9,
Oh, wait,
12,
wait.
15,
Yeah, they're
18.
well
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I was counting those lines wrong. Yeah, that's
Good God.
line
Why?
charge.
Did he just mess the lines up?
I don't know. That's not good.
Is he just in character, just feeding things to his thunder gun?
You also you want to end the game with your Thundergun unit completely on your opponent's half of the table. So
Mm-hmm.
That's
giving
how
the
you
air
do it.
elementals, giving the air elementals something to charge is a great way to make sure he takes that extra point.
Yeah. And I don't like the Pharaoh's chances very much getting hit in the flank like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's bad. Like, I mean, no, it's just like, why?
Yeah, that's got to be a misplay.
Why have you let this unit hit so many flanks
Yep. I mean, that's
All right.
12
In a-
wounds.
in a table that has a giant piece of impassable terrain down the middle?
Right.
Like, you
So-
didn't have to go fight in the open.
So it looks like the unicorn has gone in to turn off the soul snare.
Yeah.
Let's see if it can manage to do that with its 3 attacks.
9 attacks. Because it's a war machine. Or war engine.
Because it's a war engine. Okay. Well, then
Yeah.
it probably will. I
Yeah.
was just about to say it shouldn't get flank attacks because it's an individual, but that's right. The soul snare counts as a war engine.
Yep.
It's angry horse with a shiv. I don't trust unicorns. Unicron, okay in my book. Unicorns, no thank you.
Let's see how much the Green Lady heals. That'll be important.
That'll be very important.
Those spears could conceivably take that unit in the flank if it doesn't get healed much.
No,
Yeah.
they can't.
Hindered. Well, they normally hit on 5s or 4s.
They're
5.
skeletons.
5s. Yeah, okay. So 6s.
So
30 attacks on 6s.
We know this.
5 hits.
Not many.
A wound or 2.
Yeah. A wound or 2 and a couple of decent nerve rolls. Sure.
Right.
But yeah, but I guess now you're stuck with that. Like, do you turn Apathis and move him and surge him into the fire elementals in the woods to kill them, but pull yourself away from the center, or do you turn around and kill some? Well, do you go beat up the primes?
Right. It's just too much unit strength for Eric to remove and too few attacks to do it with.
Yep. And there comes the beast into the flank of the Thundergun mummies.
Yep. I don't think they die to it, but I don't think they like it either.
I definitely don't like it.
It's not friendly. And like there's nothing to come help.
Right.
Well, the one unit
Except- right. Which could turn and
search
get
flank
surged.
here. Yeah.
Right. But that limits what you can do with Shobik if you're using your only surge caster for that.
That's true. And toe to toe with a rank and file unit, Shobik's just not great. I had him get tied up earlier in the tournament against a unit of flame bearers for like 2 or 3 turns. I left them. They survived for a while after that because they just, he just doesn't do that many wounds at once.
Right. So that was the Green Lady's Cloak of Death going off.
Interesting.
Bottom of turn 5, still looking at more than 20 minutes on both players' clocks. So no real danger of a timeout here.
Nope.
But at the moment, Eric's center is just contested, but Charlie has both of the left side.
Yep.
And
It's the air elemental charge on the Pharaoh. Let's see if he wants it.
Haven't quite got- Yeah, it's too hard to tell what's going to happen in Charlie's center yet. Kind of depends on where the air elementals go,
Right.
and then what the mummies do. The unoccupied mummies do next turn, and where Shovik goes.
I mean, I'd like that charge on the Pharaoh if he sees it. I don't know if other folks have other opinions, but I like it.
That's way above 50% to kill it.
Yeah, and it puts you in a good position. Put you across the table line for the bonus point. It puts you in your opponent's middle, where there's nothing but single unit strength models really available to come get it. Because like if he turns around those mummies and surges them down into his own middle, just to counteract that, he's taking them out of the combats where it needs to be right now.
And it's
Alright,
just
so there's
you're
the
removing
charge.
another piece. You're going to get Eric down to end the game with like 2 pieces left,
Right.
somehow trying to claim or contest 3 or 4 quarters.
And that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm maybe on a turn 7 if the rolls go really skewed. Eric might be able to pull off a draw or a win, but it's looking a little rough for him at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where, when you look at the lists up front and you see who's got more unit strength versus the other, but then you get down to the end of the game and it just comes down to like who's still got more scoring units on the table,
Right.
more so than how much unit strength they have on the table. That's where armies that can bring, cheap scoring things and don't have to rely on a lot of individuals.
Well, Charlie's army is a nightmare to play against in control. Like, let's be reasonable. It's
Yeah, 4
Unless
flying scoring
you-
units,
unless you just like
5. Yeah.
smash him and take a big chunk of his things and make him use those pieces defensively, like chaff stuff up. But he hasn't even had to use any of this as chaff. Like
All right, that picks up the Pharaoh and Chariot.
he was even able to use his non-scoring unicorn as the bait.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
Yeah. All right, here's the beast in the flank of the Thundergun mummies.
6 wounds, 7 wounds. That's a lot of wounds.
That puts them at 10. And then there's the Shamblers in the front, no longer hindered on a counter charge.
2 more.
2 more, that puts them at
So
12.
6 twice.
There's a 10. Oh, and a 3.
Okay.
So they will stick. The Thundergun will stick for at least another turn. You'll
Yep.
see turn 6.
And that's not really that many wounds on the mummies. It's not really 11. It's something's coming off a regen.
Sure, yeah. So he's
Yeah,
a unicorn.
regen, life leech, blah blah blah. They're going to be down 3 to 4 of those.
Yep.
I think the Soul Snare just survived on a nerve roll of 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's off. That's
But it's turned off. Yeah, that's the big
That's-
thing.
the key is that it got gored, and suddenly that 2 to 3 extra damage in a pivotal combat plus healing is out. I mean that unicorn has been great.
Yeah, it's done a lot of work.
Survived
so-
what it needed to survive, ran all the way around the back, and then just rammed into a.
Into a Soul Snare. So that was a regen on the Thundergun mummies that took off, I think, 4 wounds from it, bringing it back down to 7.
Okay, that's a chunk.
Yeah. All right, so you're Eric. It's top of turn 6. You're looking at this. What do you try to get done this turn, knowing it might be your last turn?
That's a tough one.
Keep your Thundergun alive. Try to kill something with your Thundergun unit for a point. If you keep it alive and kill something, that's since it's on your opponent's side of the table, that's at least 2 bonus points.
Yeah, I don't know that I see a way to do this on 6.
No, you're counting on 7.
Yeah, counting on 7, probably. Yeah, you got 1 surge. It's not a whole lot.
1 surge, and you don't really want to turn these mummies and surge them into the rear of the beast because that gets them off the terrain where the air elementals can come get them. And right now, that amount of unit strength from these mummies, I think, gives Eric Charlie's center. So he's good for 2 points.
Well, if you look at him, that druid over there might. I mean, his best bet might be to face down. Although he still gets that if he goes into the rear of that beast, because it's probably going to die from a recharge from mummies.
Yeah, you kill the beast, you kill the shamblers, hopefully.
Yeah, those mummies are going to die right there.
I guess Shobik goes into the whatchamacallits,
The primes?
the primes.
That's stuck. But I guess it's his only option if you're surging into the rear of the beast. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then, it's all bad. You needed one more surge caster in there.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of like the idea of moving the soul snare forward instead of back, and making it so there's no place to land behind that thundergun unit.
The soul snare doesn't score, so backing it up into that corner doesn't give him the corner.
No, but he can use it. He can basically use it as chaff to guard the position that those mummies will be in when they pivot to face the fire elementals.
Right.
And guard the flank.
Right. Well, I feel like no matter what he does, there isn't really a good path to victory for him.
No, because he's stuck against Charlie owns top left, bottom left. He owns his opponent's center, which is 2.
Right.
So that's 4. And that's unlocking the Earth Elemental Horde to go do Horde things somewhere else. That's just with those 3, cheaper flyers at the moment. And then right now he holds or contests top right with those Fire Elemental Horde. I just don't see, even if Shobik kills and his mummies and everyone holds his center, he's looking at like 3 versus 4 or
3
5.
to 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs those fire elementals to be dead, and he needs to kill. And okay, so he just wavered the primes. He needs to kill the primes. He needs to kill the fire elementals and walk his spears down into the bottom corner to pull off a draw, assuming he's holding the whole center. So here's the rear charge from the hindered mummies that got surged into the beast. Only 10 hits. For 8 wounds and then a 10 roll. That's an 18.
That's dead.
Maybe, unless I counted something wrong. Or unless they rolled the...
Or are they vicious?
Yeah. Aren't they?
No. Okay, so that was the vicious...
Oh, yeah, they got Chant of Hate.
And then the 3 on the die.
The 3 was the nerve. Bummer.
Ouch.
Okay, but the Thundergun unit did kill the Shamblers.
Yeah, but this is bad news.
Yeah, it's bad news, Bears.
It just chooses, who hits it in the rear.
Right.
Because those air elementals can come and hit it. The beast is going to hit it. The fire elementals are going to hit it. Yeah. I think the Thundergun unit is toast. Not killing that beast was a big deal.
Yep. And they did put 10 wounds on it in a rear charge.
Mm-hmm. But elite and vicious, 36 attacks.
Hindered.
Should have been 14 hits. Should have done, I guess, 11 wounds. So, yeah, it wasn't a sure thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to average.
But what's the nerve on the beast?
15, 17?
17.
Yeah.
He didn't really have a choice, but it wasn't a high probability to kill it.
Yep. And so that will bring us to bottom of 6.
Yep.
So yeah, go kill things.
Interesting.
Why not? Why not take both?
Yeah.
Take all the toys off.
Okay. Yeah. So the beast's still into the flank. Yeah, that unit's dead.
And then the fire elementals, right?
Right. I guess the draw that I was cheering for is not going to happen this time.
No, this is going to be out of touch. This is
Yep.
sorry, table 2.
I wonder what. I wonder if he's going to go in with the Green Lady, do Radiance of Life to take the wound off the Thundergun unit to get the extra point.
They don't have damage on them, do they?
They have one. It's that one that's floating around near the lower
Okay.
obstacles.
Then he should 100% do that.
Yep. It's an extra point. Oh, there he goes. He's actually angling into. Okay. Interesting. I think he still picks up both units.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Let me think.
Flank charge from fire elementals, Pathfinder.
Yeah, I mean that's 12. Yeah,
That picks them up potentially undamaged, and they have 6 on them.
yep.
Like,
I'm looking at the other combat, and with the beast turned in to face the healthy unit. Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
pretty
You
safe.
double up on the healthy one,
Yep,
and you fire elemental away the hurt one.
yep. I think you're right. I think he's going to do 12 or more. Well, 12 from the elementals on average. The beast is good for 4.
Yeah, you're at snakes.
Yeah, you're.
And he'll just have to make sure to back one of those units back up into Eric's center, otherwise he misses out on those 2 points.
Yep. Yeah, actually, no, that doesn't. Actually, yeah, right now, this game is. No, is it a draw?
No.
I mean, if nothing dies,
Yeah, if nothing dies, but
but no, the primes are the deciding factor. I'm just looking at the unit strength here, and yeah, okay, it's not.
I mean, I'm a little surprised that he took the air elemental out of center.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep,
because he is opening himself to some really, really bad luck.
he is.
It would have to be exceptionally bad luck, but he is.
Well, it's 24 hits with the greater air elemental.
Yeah,
And there's a nerve. So now he
Back
just
it
needs a
up.
backup. So the majority of his unit is in the center.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
I think they didn't switch the clock last time, but they both have so much time at this point, it doesn't matter. Did he just reform it?
Maybe he's going to back up his earth elementals or his air
Maybe.
elemental horde. I mean,
His forward, yeah.
that's likely, but
Yeah,
It's
but
the
that's
catch.
your thing.
I don't know.
like you now, he's trying to claim everything, like because that gets him bottom right.
Yeah.
Oh, they just went straight to nerve check on that unit.
Yeah, that seems reasonable, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, so then they reform to stare at the spearmen, and now we'll see if anything happens on these last mummies. 23 hits from the air elementals, and only 8 wounds.
Still a chunk. 6 hits and 4 more wounds.
That's for 3.
Oh, they're still around.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
dude. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
That's yeah. He just accidentally gave away 2 victory points, didn't he? And that was the roll for turn 7, and that is the game.
Yeah. It
That's,
probably won't matter, but he gave away some points at the end there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he only needs to get like 17 points on the win
yeah.
to
he's
lock
won
it
the
up.
tournament at this point. Just the win and the sheer amount of killing that he's done, the killing of a Thundergun unit, the unwounded Thundergun unit he has. Yeah, he's got most of the points here. You do have to have all of the table quarters or sections to get full bonus victory points.
Mhm.
So he misses 1 there. So he's probably at 23, 24 maybe, depends on how many points are left. And
Let me see. His Thundergun unit has no wounds on it, so that's 1 he gets. It did not end the game entirely on his opponent's side of the table, so he loses 1 there.
Oh, it's not entirely. Okay, it's entirely. Yep, there we go.
I'm pretty sure you have to be entirely. So yeah, so he'll lose at least 1 for that.
And he picked up.
But he killed his opponent's Thundergun unit.
Yeah,
And I think he only gets 2 points for kill points because there's almost 600 points left on the table. Oh wait, no, there's the Pharaoh. That's another 180. There's almost 800 points left. So he's got 22, something like that.
Which is enough.
Yeah,
just
plenty.
just even getting to 20 will put it out of reach of
For sure.
either Andy or Chris.
Yeah,
when they
sorry,
play
Chris.
tomorrow.
You need that elusive 35-point win.
How do I do that?
Cheat.
No one's giving me the secret. Yeah, I don't think that works. Wait, I could bribe Steve.
I was about to say, I don't know what kind of bribes Steve is looking for.
I mean, that's not even cheating. That's just table stakes. Like, we all bribed Steve.
There you
I'm
go.
not even in the tournament, and I bribed Steve.
All right, so the players should be back here in a couple minutes to talk about it. So what do we got? Okay, so there's 1070 killed, so they are doing their attrition count.
Mhm.
That's 1070 killed by Eric. So what do we have here? We have 1 charge that was too risky early on over on the left side. That put Eric decidedly on the back foot on the left side. And then a charge that should have been okay, but that he missed by 1 on the right side that then put him on the back foot on the right side.
I mean, for me, looking at sort of the big trends is that besides a short moment where he had him kind of with an advantage on the right, Charlie was never under pressure this entire game. He had 2 Pegasus that just didn't even play.
Right.
Like he was down 2 Pegasus this game. They just hung out and claimed table quarters at the end. He didn't even need to threaten with them. He had a Thundergun unit with Crushing 1 that's great at hitting flanks that basically only ever fought flanks.
Yep.
It fought the front of a phalanx unit once and still just like rolled over. There was just a lot, like when you look at Apophis, when you look at the Pharaoh, it's a lot of points that were given away that never earned anything back, not even really time.
Yep. And those 2 units could have tied that left side up all game.
And in a 1995 list, if you give away, what's that, 500 some odd points for a Pharaoh chariot plus Apophis,
That's
like
570. Yeah.
you're giving away over 25% of your army for nothing in return. That's no wonder you lost. So, I mean, we can look at the individual things that made that happen, but I think from a macro sense, he gave away a fair number of units, or stuff just was never involved in the game. The skeleton spearmen on the far right just never played.
Right.
Yep.
And they end up what? Contesting well, hold on. Is that a table? Is that a table corner that Eric actually ends up with, or
Top
I guess
right
it depends on.
is
I guess it
contested.
depends where the
No,
primes
you
are.
have a horde and a regiment for Charlie,
Okay.
and all he has is a regiment plus a Shobik.
Right.
Where are those primes? Are they top right?
I would say they're in the top right.
Okay, yeah, then he's got top right. He only contests then top center. So he's got 3 points or 4 points.
Top left, bottom
Mhm.
right,
Top right. Yep. So he's got 4 points. Yeah. It's
No,
He has his own center, doesn't he? With
He's
the beast
winning.
and
He's winning his own center because there's a beast of nature in there as well.
yeah.
where it's hidden under the template.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
It's
So he's
under
got,
the damage.
so he's got 5 points.
Yeah.
So I think that's 2 bonus victory points out of 3. Let me pull up the sheet.
So it's filthy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot. Oh, and here they come.
So he's +2 on that, +2 on kills.
22-9, I think we figured it out as.
22-9. Okay.
I'll take your word on it.
Yeah. Charlie had a great game plan and just executed. It was a good game. Had some tough rolls, but that's how it goes.
Yep.
I think Charlie should be here in a second.
Cool.
Yeah, we feel bad just talking to you without him here to gloat.
For sure.
Like he should bask in it.
Yep. So welcome back, guys. Congrats to Charlie on the win. That should be a substantial enough win to give you the
Bravo, man.
event.
Yep. Good job, Charlie.
So,
Thanks,
so
that's
congrats
awesome.
to that.
If you have to lose, you lose to the winner, right? That's the best way I can take it.
There you go.
I feel I had the better dice for sure, but I went in with a plan and then executed properly. So I'll take good dice.
It wasn't just dice, man. You had a really good strategy, and I made some mistakes for sure.
Yeah, there were some big ones for me though. Giving you those surge flanks, I got to watch out for them. I got to be a bit more careful with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough dealing with those air elementals. They're tricky, and you outranged me a lot. So I just was trying to delay that flank as much as I could and try to get more work done in the middle. Had some of the nerve rolls went a little better. It'd been a little bit interesting. Turn 7 might have been a little interesting too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you just had a good strategy. I mean, you didn't even need to use 2 Pegasus, which they just kind of hung out.
Yeah.
It's
Which
nice to have
really
them in the
hurts
back
me though,
pocket.
because I love blocking charges with those things, but I just thought no, they're too important to score this game. It's too gotta
I mean,
hide them away.
did you literally put that one behind a rock as like to keep yourself from throwing it away? Like, was that something? Because we're like, there's nothing to shoot it on that side of the board. It could.
There
be
was. I think it was
somewhere.
my third drop though, and he hadn't dropped anything like the
Okay.
Soul Snake, but
But it was just funny because it was like that one's just staying behind the rock. Is that Charlie like just keeping his hands off of it? He can't help himself.
It is a bit that way, yeah, because I always want to throw him into combat. So.
Yeah. Personally, I approached the game. I was going to give up the 2 points on the left side. I was just fighting for middle and the right side, and just didn't work out. But that's a tough scenario for my list.
So
Sure.
I had all the advantages. So
I mean, Charlie's list is a nightmare to play in control. It starts basically 2 table quarters up to begin.
Right. Yeah.
But it felt and not like good game, everyone. This is not to rake anyone over the coals, but it felt like you were caught a little in 2 minds on your left, Eric, on whether to fully castle up or whether to sort of come out and try and mix it up. And you chose to come out and mix it up, and it bit you. It felt like.
Yeah.
I think he had to a bit though, because if he put nothing there, I would have swept in through that so fast. So
same 3 units, but assume that they just don't come out and fight. That they do what you did on your side, just keep backing it up.
Okay.
And I mean that's easier said than done. There's a whole game to be played. You were going to keep sweeping around and do something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely took a risk with sending Aphis and the spears into the was that a druid on a
Unicorn.
horse?
The unicorn.
Unicorn, yeah.
It's a horse with a shiv.
Yeah, that's a badass that's a badass character. And one thing that had I remembered, for whatever reason, I was like, at least the spears are going to get 30 attacks. And then I was like, oh shit, that's an individual. And the whole plan was like, I wanted to do 30 attacks. If I do pop it, I overrun. If they do one wound, they're not nimble anymore. Those air elementals, and then it went down. And I was like, oh, this sucks. This is terrible. This is a bad idea.
Chris actually called that. Chris was like, I wonder, because he rolled 30 first and then he did 15. I wonder if he thought it was because so many people run the unicorns with wings.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of stuck in my head, and I'm just like, but I'm even trying to overrun. So it was just a bad scenario.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So-
So
It was an entertaining game to watch, guys.
Oh, good.
thanks.
I'm glad.
Yeah, Charlie's a great player, man. We had a blast. We were just so strategic. It was great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Already booking in a rematch.
Hell yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, what was enjoyable about it is the pure amount of surge units on the table, with limited surge casters. So like each surge had to be very, very important and the best one to choose.
Yeah.
And then the other really interesting part is you look at your army, Charlie, and you say, okay, well, just don't let it get flanks and it can't hurt anything.
Yeah.
And then you look at the end of the game and you're like, it only got flanks. What happened? Like, how did you just mind trick?
Yeah, that's the idea. Well, worked out.
Yeah, there were
Wait till
a lot
it's-
of surges.
The 2-3 version is going to be grosser. So.
Yeah. I think maybe you missed one flank surge with the greater air elemental, and other than that, were there even any missed surge charges? Like you guys managed them pretty reliably.
Yeah, besides that elemental one, that was about the only one. I really, really was hoping that that Phalanx unit would stick the charge from the air elementals.
Yeah.
That could have helped me a lot.
yeah, and then I busted it open anyway. So
Yeah, I think you only needed like an 8 once or something like that. It wasn't much, but I couldn't get any inspiring near it.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, Eric, I'm curious. Did you just miss the fact that the air elementals had the flank on the Pharaoh, or were you reading the line?
I did. I completely missed it. They were so far out, and
the
I
Greater
was
was
preparing-
blocking the vision as well. So
yeah, I was preparing for him to either go into the Soul Snare or something there, and I could have pivoted a little bit better. I probably could have kept him at least in the front and still been able to function how I wanted it to on the right side. But yeah, I just completely missed it. I definitely made a bunch of errors in this one, and Charlie capitalized for sure.
Well, there's a mental fatigue that happens when you're playing that many surge, that many flyers, that many surge flyers. And I definitely don't doubt that like you get to turn 5 or turn 6 and distances start seeming off or you discount rings. Like it just happens.
Yeah. I think this is like the first surge army I played all tournament, so I haven't really had to deal with it too much. Not that I'm unfamiliar with it, obviously, because I play it, but it was just another thing to look forward, and having that nimble surge is so neat on those air elementals.
Yeah, I think Thundergun makes the air elementals a different unit.
Yeah, it makes them
100%.
makes them worth
100%.
playing.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Like suddenly they hit like werewolves.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you don't want to be taking a flank from those bad boys. That's for sure. No.
No.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else that came up? I think we covered pretty much everything.
No, yeah, we were good.
forward
Only
to
one rules
watching it
question
back.
was the surge, Showback sidestep, but I looked it up real quick and I was like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
With the new errata, you actually can do that sidestep you did initially. You just
I could.
equal to or farther away.
That's what I thought so too, but
Yep. Yeah, that's
thankfully I made the surge.
yeah, you made the surge, so no rules question.
Yeah.
Just roll high.
just roll well, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Everything will work out.
I tell you what, with 8 dice, Surge 3 is scary. Like needing 3 inches is scary on Surge 8. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen it fail a lot of times on UB. Just one of those things.
Yep, it does.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys, for letting us watch your game. It was a great game. Well played on both of you. Congrats to Charlie on the win, which should lock up the tournament. Eric,
yeah.
Better luck next tournament. Maybe we'll see you next time.
For sure. Absolutely. Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Sure thing. This should wrap up our coverage of the It's Always Sunny in Pannithor tournament. And I'm not sure what's coming up next. If you're planning on running any UB events, let us know, and
Yeah.
we'll take a look at the matches and see if any look good to us that I think people might like to watch.
All right.
Otherwise, thanks again. I'd like to thank Britton and Chris for hanging out with me during the match, and everybody at home for watching. And until next time, I'm your host, Mike Atkins, saying you stay safe out there. And we will see you next time on Dash 28 Live. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
See you
Appreciate
guys.
it. Bye.
Thanks for watching.